Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the 1,775 poems of the Johnson edition of the Poems of Emily Dickinson. We turned out a poem 24. There is a Morn by Man Unseen. I find this a remarkable little poem because it's not always clear when we study Emily's stuff if she is speculating or if she is challenging. Is she iconoclastic or is she just interested in wanting to know? In this case, it's going to be the question of afterlife. Now, our assumptions are that you've been studying with us at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. We did give a set of introductory comments that I'm hopeful that you've already been exposed to, and we've worked the first 23 poems, just finishing with I Had Guinea. Now again, this is an attempted description of heaven or afterlife. We're going to see this a lot in Emily Dickinson. In fact, some of her greatest biographers have pointed out that of the 4 or 5 or 6 most important things she's always seeming to be thinking about, one of them is not just death, but what happens after death. We've commented already on the influence that possibly Plato's Phaedo had on her and her thinking about afterlife and the immortality of the soul. The other thing I'd like to just point out is take a look at the rhythm of this poem, A, B, C, C, B, times the 4 stanzas. And to that degree, it's going to be interesting. Now, again, is Emily speculating or is she postulating? It's going to be interesting. But in her heaven, as she's going to describe it, we got lots of dancing going on, which of course, for a certain group of readers of her day, is going to be near anathema. I think there's a lot of Dante going on here as well. Let's enjoy. There is a morn by men unseen, whose maids upon remoter green keep their seraphic May, and all day long with dance and game and gambol I may never name, employ their holiday. Here to light measure move the feet which walk no more the village street, nor by the wood are found. Here are the birds that sought the sun when last year's distaff idle hung and summer's brows were bound. Ne'er saw I such a wondrous scene, ne'er such a ring on such a green, nor so serene array as if the stars some summer night could swing their cups of crystal light and revel till the day. Like thee to dance, like thee to sing, people upon the mystic green, I ask each new May morn. I wait thy far fantastic bells, announcing me in other dells unto the different dawn. Now I love the echoes that will be played in so many of her poems, echoes to another tradition, of course for her, this pietistic Christian tradition. What is the afterlife like? Well, certainly there will be some mentioning of singing, but the idea that there will be dancing, gambling, moving, gyrating, the idea that there will be reveling in heaven, well, for Emily, I think she's, as I've said to you guys before, I think she's having a whole lot of fun in a poem like this. She'll begin, of course, by speaking about the unseen. And for her, this is always the quest, right? What is the unseen? What is the afterlife like? Well, she says, it's morning. It's almost like a seraphic May morning, and I love that she'll play that game. Poem 1518, when we finally get there, and we play that game, she'll say it this way: not seeing, still we know; not knowing, guess; not guessing, smile and hide and half caress and quake and turn away. Seraphic fear is Eden's innuendo, if you dare. I'm gonna love that poem when we meet it, and I'm gonna love to come back to it. The idea, notice that what is unseen and the seraphic May. Well, what is it? What is the afterlife? Well, here it is. And this is interesting because it's going to remind us somewhat of Dante's Limbo. You'll remember in Dante's Inferno 4, the circle, first circle, circle 1, is limbo, where there's not so much maybe the necessarily dancing, but there's certainly this kind of pastoral view. We've given full lectures, of course, on Dante at learnstrong.net. Notice, all day long with dance and game and gambol, and we're going to see this word gambol again at 1185 when we come back to that one. And it will be a little dog that wags his tail and knows no other joy. Of such a little dog am I, reminded by a boy who gambles all the living day without an earthly cause because he's a little boy. I honestly suppose the idea of gambling, of running, of playing, joy, 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 I may never name. In other words, I can't really describe in full detail, but she says this is what their holiday is like. I love this. For Emily, the afterlife is a holiday. People have often tried to paint Emily as like this morbid, melancholic kind of person and writer, and there's no doubt that some of her poems can play into that idea. But certainly here, she says, on a beautiful May morning, maybe possibly the one she's looking at the time, she says, I can't imagine heaven as being anything better than we all get to run around, dance, and later it will be rave. Notice here, to light measure, I love she uses the word light measure, move the feet which walk no more the village street, nor by the wood are found. Here are the birds that sought the sun. You could argue that so much of Emily's work is seeking the sun. When last year's distaff idle hung, the distaff here possibly we're talking about the stalk of a plant without minus its flower. In other words, it's the end. And summer brows were bound. In other words, by the end, if you see your life is kind of, through the summertime is your life, and then the end of summer and fall, autumn is your death. She says, birds are always seeking for the ultimate song, and she seems to be suggesting so is she. Ne'er, of course, the contraction for never, ne'er saw I such a wondrous scene, ne'er such a ring on such a green, nor so serene attire. Hey, do you guys remember when we hit poem 2, there is another sky, ever serene and fair? This use of the word serene, I think, is a powerful way to say there's something peaceful about her vision. And then she goes to a construction that she loves. You can run this to ground. Every time she uses as if, just mark it with some colored pen and be blown away by how she loves this. It is what? It's a postulate. It's a supposing. As if, right? And here we go. As if the stars some summer night, hear all the S sounds in this stanza. As if the stars some summer night could swing their cups of crystallite, green, the green gemstone. We're going to see, by the way, crystallite when we hit poem 221. It's going to run something like this. So sunset shuts my question down with cuffs of crystallite. And she says, as if the stars could revel till the day. The idea of the dancing of the stars, the reveling. In other words, heaven for Emily will be a time of great joy, dancing and revel. Now, of course, there are going to be a whole lot of readers of Emily's time that will say there's something disturbing, something iconoclastic about her deciding that heaven will be a place where everybody gets to dance and revel. This is far more, of course, of a Greek idea, right? The idea that's played out in Keats's Ode on a Grecian Urn, for example, where we have chasing and all of that happening. Like thee to dance. Now she's talking a new May morning. Like thee to dance, like thee to sing, people upon the mystic green. Now, save this word mystic for passage 52, because we're going to see it again. Whether my bark went down at sea, whether she met with gales, whether to isles enchanted she bent her docile sails, by what mystic mooring she is held today. Now, the word mystic is a powerful word for Emily because it speaks to the unknown, but it also speaks to the serenity as she was using the word. I ask each new May morn, I wait. Now this is that patience that's always going to be a part of so many of the poems of Emily. I wait thy far fantastic bells. Notice this, the F sounds here. And then hear all the D sounds, announcing me and other dells unto the different dawn. And I think this dell, a beautiful valley, right? Grassy valley, a knoll, upon, and the knoll beyond it, upon unto the different dawn. And so we end where we began with the new morn, a different dawn. Well, what's going on here, and what game is she playing? Well, I think she's speculating on afterlife and heaven, but I think she's also challenging the idea. But yes, it is a mystery. What afterlife is a mystery. And of course, if there is such a thing as a heaven, it's obviously a mystery. But she says it this way: if I want to imagine heaven, I'm going to imagine it as a place where people get to gamble, run, dance, rave, have a good time. That's how she sees it. At 2b, I love the rhyme scheme. I love all the sounds, especially those D sounds at the end of, at the very end, in the last stanza. Although you could look at each one of these stanzas and say, what is the sound that's emphasized? But do you hear it? Dance, del, different, dawn. It's nice, right? And of course, that rhyme scheme of A, B, C, C, B, through all 4 of the stanzas is quite fun as well. At 3a, well, I mentioned Dante's Divine Commedia of 1321. And as I say, we've given full lectures at learnstrong.net, but what game is she playing here? Well, she is taking that Dante-esque view, and she's playing a game with it. This is her notion of the Divine Comedy, that when it's all said and done, when we die, we get to go on holiday. In that regard, she's closer to Plato's Phaedo, that moment when Socrates is ready to drink his hemlock shake and to die, and of course his students are also upset. We've talked about it at full lengths at learnstrong.net, and yet Socrates is ready to go on his journey, to go on his odyssey, and he's excited, right? And I think that spirit is obviously contained here. Finally, in 3b, how are we going to own a poem like this? Well, I don't know. What are your thoughts about afterlife? What are your thoughts about heaven? And if you were to speculate on an ideal kind of situation, what would that look like? Would there be dancing? Would there be singing? Would there be reading poems of Emily? I hope so. Thank you.